Hi, I am Allie Camilletti, and you are listening to Snack Leadership. I will be talking about everything leadership, broken down into bite-sized pieces. You will hear what different leadership skills look like in organizations and how they can rise teams up or take them down. I help leaders build resilience and improve performance by bringing awareness to opportunity behaviors in my business. Spark your mindset. I provide leadership and sales coaching, as well as team building and guest speaking. My hope is for you to feel inspiration and to create a spark in your mindset. Hi everyone. Today we are talking about learning. Learner is the ability and commitment to continuously seek new knowledge, skills, and perspectives, and to apply them to improve oneself, one's team, and organization. When I think about the conversation I had with Heather Bayer on learning, I was reflecting on how she talked about always being a learner, like she was raised with this mentality of learning, and it was something that was embedded in her childhood. I did not have that at all. And I think about that, like, when did I become such a learner and how did that really shift? Because in my younger years, I was not a great student. No, not at all. Going to school and learning was not my favorite thing. Socializing, I loved it as a kid. And it was kind of funny because when I was teaching community college in my 20s, and I took my transcripts into the gentleman who had hired me, and I said, I'm really embarrassed about my transcripts. And he said, oh, Allie, never be embarrassed about that. The best teachers are the worst when it comes to school previously. I was like, oh, good. I'm so grateful that that's the case. But that always kind of stuck with me, is that I have taken that skill in to be able to help those that I coach and I support on their journey. Is I want to give them different ways of learning so that they can adapt to whatever works best for them. I found this article on entrepreneur.com, and it's about 10 ways continuous learning can take you from a good leader to a great one. And I thought it was really interesting. So Tanya Ryan wrote it, and she talked about, like, you're probably a leader, right? You've felt the highs and the lows, the big dreams paired with the lows of some days asking yourself, what on earth have I gotten myself into? I will say that being an entrepreneur and self-employed for, over 20 years with my two businesses, it has been the best learning experience I have ever had in my life. Because especially being a small business, I do everything. I don't thrive to be a big business and have a marketing department and social media is already taken care of. No, I'm right in there doing it all. And I have a gentleman, which I'm so grateful for, Dolan, who helps me with the website and podcast editing, and he's fabulous. But other than that, I'm constantly learning because I'm doing it all. And Tanya talked about, like, basically, it's not just about having the guts when you're an entrepreneur, which that is a piece of it, or constantly hustling, which that's another piece of it. I saw with my event planning business, like, I got burned out when I stopped marketing. Yeah, the business stopped coming. And so that's something to always pay attention to, is kind of being ahead of the curve as an entrepreneur. But it really hinges on staying sharp, adaptable, and open to new ideas. So the best thing you can do is have continuous learning. Now, for me, I can feel it when I start feeling like, maybe I'm a little bored with what I'm offering and I want to mix it up and offer new things. And so when that happens for me, I do that. Like, I'm not the person that has 10 different certifications in different things. I have a few, but I do it more because it's really what is driving me. When that happens, that I bring those on. I just don't do them to have the certifications listed. So not to be worried that what I'm going to talk about today is you better get out your books and your podcasts. No, but they do say staying ahead in a rapidly changing world. And that's what I admire about Heather Bear and why really I wanted to interview her on Learner, because I witnessed her with AI and how when it started coming out, she jumped into it. And I have been so grateful that we're on a committee together and I get to learn her knowledge about AI. And it has been fascinating for me because she makes it look super easy. And so AI is a big piece of where we have the opportunity to learn, right? And we know that now. We talked about that some people are a little scared or they feel a little guilty when they use it. Oh no. Everything that we're hearing is you better embrace it, because if you don't, you're going to be left behind. And so really focusing on that, staying ahead of the curve when it comes to learning. And then the piece of learning is it sparks creativity and innovation. So as I started to learn AI, one of the things that came up for me is I was like, I want to offer something different for the people that I work with and in general. And what came up for me, it was literally on a walk with a friend, but it was spearheaded by the AI that I was embracing. And it was that I'm going to offer actual surveys that are focused on each company's individual values. Because I've been working with a platform that hits on great principles that can apply to different values for companies, but I want it to be specific for them. And so I have built a model so that I can take in their core values and build a survey for their companies that assesses their teams on how they're using their core values. So knowing that learning piece for me sparked creativity and innovation. Didn't come from just crunching numbers and being like, oh, I want to offer another service. No, it was from learning AI. And that was a big piece of it. Another piece is build bulletproof confidence. Ooh, this can be hard for entrepreneurs. So many entrepreneurs that I have worked with, I watch them feel inferior in some way. And when they say that, I'm like, no, own it. Like, be confident. But it's easier said than done. And so that can happen. But if you're continuously learning, that will build your confidence, because you're like, oh, yeah, I just learned about this, or I listened to a podcast or read a book about this, and I understand better. So learning doesn't have to be boring, right? There's YouTube masterclasses by experts. And then there's also like just learning what's non-negotiable, right? Search engines change their algorithm so often that it stopped learning. Another area to learn is learn on your schedule. Now, maybe for some people, they like to block time for their learning. I tend to flow with it, and I will add it in maybe even after my daughter goes to bed at night. I will listen to a podcast that offers me new insights on something I'm working on, or I will go ahead and listen to an audio book while I am driving in between my meetings. But make it work for you. Don't feel like you have to be learning a certain amount every day. No. Attending webinars, right? Anymore, we can attend webinars anytime. And it's not always convenient when webinars are, but I have blocked off time in the middle of my day to attend a webinar on learning about parenting. And I think I've shared that my daughter's adopted. So lately I have been leaning into more education about adopted children and how to focus on neurodiversity and ensuring that she has the tools that she needs. Yeah, I'll plug that in the middle of my day while I'm eating lunch so that I can gain that knowledge. It's great that we can do this from home anymore, right? We don't have to go somewhere physically to be able to make that learning happen. They say collaboration is everywhere. So, joining workshops or community-driven courses. One of the things that I love most is when I am able to go to actual conferences is that connection time. I learn more by talking to the people that I'm surrounded by than anything else. I'll learn about what's happening in the industry or some of their pain points that helps me support my clients in a better way. I talked a little bit about reading or listening to like books, whatever it looks like, and how you can bring that into your schedule, right? I think that's really important. I know for me, one of the ways that I like to read a book, not listen to a book, which I do actually read sometimes, I listen a lot, is when I'm traveling. Oh, on the airplane, it's my favorite place to read a book. In an airport, absolutely. That's time well spent. And so, really knowing that it's important to bring in that additional information. I will say I'm a bigger fan of actual podcasts or education pieces through people I respect than I am of one who will sit down and read certain books. And then turn learning into a team effort. Like, have a book club together. I've worked with companies that I have recommended that before, and they've done that, and it's great. That way they can pass on their learning. I had a gentleman that he had what he called was kind of like his little library in his office, and it brought team members in, and he would allow them to take books. And it was a way for him to connect with them and give them back something to support their learning. And that's a great way of making it fun. You want to make it fun. It should not be a chore. So, with that learning, something I love to recommend is when you have your team meetings, it doesn't have to all fall on the leader. Actually, have your team members come and present something they've learned about and share it. That makes it fun for everybody. They're hearing it from their peers, and that person gets to go out and do more research on it. It's a lot more fun. One of my favorite pieces, and they put this as number 10. I'm like, I feel like it's number 1, not to judge, but stay curious and watch opportunities overflow. Curiosity is something that I believe is essential as a leader, and it helps entrepreneurs thrive. Staying open-minded, start spotting opportunities everywhere when you're curious. What looks like a massive challenge might magically transform into a growth pathway nobody else spotted by just staying curious. So I leave with you today this quote by John Dewey. We do not learn from experience, we learn from reflecting on experience. Thank you for tuning in to Snack Leadership. I hope you felt inspiration, motivation, and felt your mindset spark. Snack Leadership is recorded and produced by myself, Ali Camilletti, and music by Shireen Amini.